In the cold, gray light of dawn over the Sea of Azov, a Russian Bayan-M corvette sliced through the water. This wasn't just any warship. It was a Predator, armed with 8 deadly Kalibr cruise missiles, each one programmed to bring fire and destruction to Ukrainian cities. On board, the crew prepared for another routine mission. The sea was quiet. The air was still, but they were not alone. They were being hunted. Unknown to the Russian sailors, 7 ghosts were closing in. 7 Ukrainian sea drones, flying low and fast, had a single objective: to prevent those missiles from ever leaving their launch tubes. What followed was one of the most audacious and technologically brilliant naval attacks in modern history. A story of ingenuity, incredible courage, and a 1.2-second decision that changed everything. This is the declassified, second-by-second account of how a handful of drones took on a state-of-the-art warship and won. The hunt begins. The mission started in near-total silence. The 7 Ukrainian drones split into 2 groups. The first, codenamed the Rybakas, were the scouts and pathfinders. Sleek and incredibly fast, their lead drone accelerated, streaking across the waves at a blistering 400 kilometers per hour. But the silence was shattered in an instant. A Russian checkpoint on the coast erupted in a fury of gunfire. Tracers, like angry red fingers, clawed through the dawn sky. The deafening roar was from 23mm cannons, each shell powerful enough to vaporize a drone into a cloud of scattered debris. The element of surprise was gone. The real test had just begun. The Russian gunner couldn't see the drones. They were too small, too fast, hidden in the dim morning light. But he could hear them. He fired blindly at the distinctive, high-pitched whine of their electric motors, walking his explosive shells toward the sound. The lead operator, Rybaka, hundreds of kilometers away, saw the wall of fire erupt on his screen. He yanked his controls hard left. Explosions blossomed around the drone, the shockwaves rattling its camera. Pushing the motors to their absolute limit, the drone screamed forward at 432 kilometers per hour, a blur of motion that outpaced the gunner's ability to track it. It had survived the first encounter, but the damage was done. Gunfire had alerted every Russian position within 10 kilometers. Warning messages flashed across telegram channels, moving faster and more reliably than official military radios. The hunt was now a frantic, desperate race. A gauntlet of fire and static. The drone operator's screen dissolved into static as a spiderweb of 110,000-volt power lines appeared, invisible until the last second. A desperate pull-up cleared the lethal voltage by mere meters, but the electromagnetic field scrambled every instrument. The compass spun wildly, the video feed flickered, and the drone flew blind for 3 agonizing seconds. Just as the picture stabilized, a new threat emerged. A massive radio tower, its guy wires stretching like tripwires. Another hard bank, another near miss, clearing steel cables by inches. This was flying on pure instinct. Behind the lead drone, 2 Spear Rybakas followed, 30 seconds apart, using the chaos as cover to blind the ship's radar. Further north, 4 slower Bober drones, carrying heavy warheads, lumbered along, waiting to strike once the path was clear. The electronic ambush. The telegram warnings had worked. The next Russian checkpoint waited with a repellent one-jammer, flooding the air with electromagnetic noise. The lead Bober's screen went black, signal lost. But the Ukrainians had planned for this. The drone's autonomous mode kicked in, navigating blind through the electronic storm on pre-programmed waypoints. Minutes later, the video feed flickered back to life, revealing a BTR-82 armored vehicle blocking the path, its machine gun already firing. The operator dove into an industrial zone, using buildings as cover. The noise drew out Russian soldiers, who began firing at the sound. The drone stayed low, just 10 meters off the ground. At this altitude, physics itself became a shield. The Earth's curvature creates radar shadows, making low-flying objects invisible to distant radar. Threading these invisible corridors, the drone evaded the BTR, but the sheer volume of small arms fire was overwhelming. A concentrated volley finally connected. The third Rybaka spiraled out of control, and slammed into a parking lot, its warhead detonating in a flash. The team was down a drone. They couldn't afford to lose another one. The wall of missiles. Cresting the final ridge, the operator's blood ran cold. The mission briefing was catastrophically wrong. Waiting for them was a Pantsir S-1, a dedicated drone killer. Instantly, the Pantsir launched 6 anti-drone missiles. Each was packed with 200 tungsten spheres, designed to explode into a lethal shotgun blast of metal, expanding at 1,800 meters per second. The operator used a ladder tactic, staggering the missile's altitudes to create a 3-dimensional box of death directly in the drone's path. The missiles screamed in. There was no escape, or so it seemed. The 1.2-second gambit. But the Ukrainian operator knew the system's critical secret: a 1.2-second arming delay on its missiles, a built-in safety feature. He knew that at 432 kilometers per hour, he could close the distance before the missiles became live. So he did the unthinkable. He didn't evade, he dove straight at the launcher. The 6 missiles screamed overhead, their fuses still safetied. By the time they armed, the drone was already past them. He had turned the Pantsir's own safety protocol into a shield. Leveling out just meters from the ground, the operator locked onto his real target, the Podlet K-1 radar, the electronic eyes of the entire air defense network. Blinding the giant. The stunned Pantsir crew switched to their cannons, firing 5,000 rounds per minute, but the system had a fatal 3.5-second targeting lag. The operator changed course every 2 seconds, meaning the computer was always aiming at a ghost. The drone punched through and slammed into the Podlet K-1 radar. Its shaped charge detonated, creating the Monroe effect, a hypersonic jet of metal moving at 7,000 meters per second that tore through the system's core. The first set of eyes was gone. As the second drone targeted the P-18 early warning radar, the Pantsir switched to thermal imaging, but the Dawn's temperature inversion made the drone's faint heat signature invisible against the landscape, causing the thermal lock to fail. The gunner fired blindly, 5,000 rounds, 0 hits. The second drone struck the P-18 dead center, instantly erasing 200 kilometers of radar coverage. The warship was now blind and alone. The final approach. On board the corvette, confusion turned to panic. Now blind, its own radar couldn't distinguish the low-flying drones from ocean waves. Its clutter rejection algorithm, meant to filter out sea spray, began erasing the real threats from the screen. The ship's last defense, its 10,000 round-per-minute cannon system, spun to life, but it was designed for massive missiles, not nimble drones. It was like using a sledgehammer to hit a hummingbird, and its targeting computer was too slow to keep up. Last-ditch efforts failed spectacularly. Chaff decoys were useless against human operators watching through a camera. Electronic jammers couldn't break a control link that used frequency hopping, jumping between 128 channels every second. The video feed degraded, but it never broke. The killing blow. The ship attempted to evade, but it was too slow and clumsy. Its main cannons couldn't aim low enough, and sailors on deck fired uselessly at a target moving too fast to track. The first Bober drone slammed into the main mast, instantly severing every radar and communication link. The corvette was now blind, deaf, and dumb. The final drone lined up its shot. The target, a precise spot on the hull, right over the Kalibr missile magazine. It struck true. The hypersonic jet from its shaped charge punched through the steel hull, triggering a secondary explosion in the magazine. The 8 Kalibr cruise missiles, primed to launch just minutes before, were now useless. The Boyan corvette did not sink. It crawled back into port 12 hours later. A crippled wreck, its superstructure was blackened, its hull torn open, smoke still rising from deep within. The 8 Kalibr missiles that were meant for Ukrainian cities sat inert in their tubes. Their mission failed. A warship costing $500 million had been defeated by a small team of operators sitting in bunkers 300 kilometers away, using drones built with parts you could buy off the internet. It was a stunning victory of mind over metal, of ingenuity over brute force. This single engagement has changed the face of naval warfare forever. It raises a chilling question for every major navy in the world. In this new era of warfare, is any ship truly safe?